So I'd like to introduce our speaker today. It's Kevin Mitnick. Kevin is the co-founder and president of a company called Defensive Thinking. And here's some background information on him. He's had more than 15 years of experience in the computer security world. He's mostly self-taught in exposing the vulnerabilities of complex computer systems and telecommunication devices. His hobby as an adolescent consisted of studying materials, tactics, strategies used to circumvent computer security. In building his knowledge, he gained unauthorized access to computer systems at some of the largest corporate universities. I'm sorry, corporations, not the universities. Never the universities. He has used his technical and non-technical means to obtain source code to various operating systems and telecommunications devices and to study their vulnerabilities and their inner workings. Kevin has been featured in the news and magazine articles. He's been featured in 60 Minutes, The Learning Channel, Tech TV Screensavers, Court TV, Good Morning America, CNN, Street Sweep, Talkback Live, and NPR. And I think he may have gone a little Hollywood on us. He was a guest star in ABC's spy drama Alias. So there you go. As I said, his book is called Art of the Deception. It was published in October of 2002, and you can look at it on Books 24/7 if you like. It's Kevin Mitnick.
So a lot of you probably already know about my past. I was involved in computer hacking in my immature years, and now I've turned that around, and now I'm a computer consultant and lecture on information security. But as was mentioned earlier, I'll probably go on for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, and then I'll leave a Q&A. So I'm a little bit flexible here. So let me get started. I'd say about 20 years ago, well, 1978, even longer than that, there was a gentleman that worked for a large metropolitan bank, a guy named Stanley Mark Rifkin. And Rifkin was working as a consultant, and he was designing a backup system for the bank. Then one day, he places a telephone call to the wire transfer room and asks for the supervisor. And he schedules an appointment because he needs to speak to all the different wire transfer clerks. Because he's designing the system, he wants to listen to their gripes, whether they have any suggestions for improvement. And the supervisor schedules an appointment for him. So the next day, he's dressed in his suit, brings this clipboard with a yellow pad, and he starts interviewing all the different wire transfer clerks. And in the room, for convenience, the clerks had posted a 4-digit code, which is the code for the day. And this is a code that authenticates a caller to transfer money over the telephone. So Rifkin memorized this code. And then he continued on and interviewed each of the wire transfer clerks to learn the procedures of how they did the transfer. Then rather than going back to his office after his interviews, he went straight to the payphone in the lobby of Security Pacific National Bank. And his first call was to the wire transfer room. So he got the woman on the phone, and the first thing the woman asked him was his office number, and he was able to give her the number. It was like 68, because he knew the procedure. Then the woman asked him for the code for the day. So he simply just recited the code that he read up on the Post-it note on the wall. Then he gave her instructions to transfer $10,200,000 to Irving Trust in New York for credit of Washoe Handels Bank out of Zurich, Switzerland. And the woman asked him, well, what's the interoffice settlement number? And this is one thing that he wasn't able to discern during his interviews. This was something new. So he got a little bit nervous, but he played it off well. He goes, well, let me call you right back. Let me get that number for you. So he hung up with her. Then he calls another division at the bank. And now he's changed hat. Now he's with the wire transfer room. And he asked for the interoffice settlement number that particular department uses. So once he got that number, he calls back to the clerk that he originally was speaking to and gives her the interoffice settlement number. She thanks him very much. And after that day, he decided to broker a deal with a Russian diamond company. So he could take $8 million of that $10 million that's being transferred to Zurich and convert it to diamonds. So a few days later, he flies to Switzerland, brokers the diamond deal with the Russians, and he takes the diamonds and he sticks them in a money belt, flies back to the United States the next day, and is able to sneak through customs. Customs did not search Stanley. And at the time he landed in the United States, the bank still hadn't realized they had been ripped off. So he sets up a meeting with his attorney because he needs to dissolve his businesses, because he no longer needs to work. He's a wealthy man, right? $10 million richer, tax-free. So during a lunch in Beverly Hills, at a nice Beverly Hills restaurant, he takes a few diamonds and he puts it in the ashtray and he gives them to the lawyer as a gift. So the lawyer goes, well, where'd you get these, Stanley? And he just had to tell somebody what he did. It was just so amazing of how he was able to, on a simple phone call, steal $10 million from Security Pacific Bank. So he recites the whole story to the attorney, figuring that he had attorney-client privilege, I think. I don't know. Never spoke to Stanley. So that afternoon, the lawyer goes straight to the FBI on Wilshire Boulevard here in West Los Angeles and tells him what happened. The FBI calls the bank, and the bank says, no, there was no unauthorized wire transfers. So it took the bank like a week to realize that they had indeed been ripped off. And that's what's going to be really discussed, or this is what my presentation is about today. It's not going to be a technical presentation, but it's about social engineering, which is really using manipulation and deception to persuade people to either release proprietary information or to do some sort of action that allows the bad guys into the system or to gain information. So let me advance the slide here. Everybody remembers the quote by P.T. Barnum, right? There's a sucker born every minute. But that's really not why social engineering works. We're going to get, in a few moments, later in my presentation, I'm going to describe exactly why social engineering is so effective. But the information security industry, as probably all of you know, are really focused on technical solutions to the security problem. You hear about firewalls, VPN. Probably a lot of you, when you're off-site, you have to VPN here in Toyota. I don't really know, but I can guess. And there's encryption. There's biometric authentication devices. RSA is a company that develops a secure ID device. And social engineering bypasses all of that because it goes directly to the human being. Because the bad guy is able to deceive anybody with legitimate access to give up the information or to transfer that information or to even reveal their credentials that allows them in. And the hackers and the industrial spies don't just focus on finding technical vulnerabilities. What they look for is the weakest link in the security chain. If they could walk into the company and plug in a wireless access device and hide it under somebody's desk, if they can get to the server room or the telephone closet, they're going to take the easiest route to get what they want. Of course, doing a physical entry is higher risk for the bad guys, and that is one of the reasons why social engineering is so widely used. And you think as the information security community and these manufacturers that are developing security devices are making better and better technology to keep the bad guys out of your stuff, the more and more, the more often that social engineering will be used, right? Because if it's the easier way in, that's the way the bad guy will take. Now, social engineering, excuse me one second. Social engineering exploits poor awareness because people aren't aware of the threat. They're not aware of the value of information, that they're not aware of the consequences of their actions. But social engineering also exploits not only poor awareness, but curiosity and poor security habits. Let me give you an example. And you notice on the floor there's a red 3.5-inch floppy disk. You pick it up. It says extremely proprietary and confidential. Payroll salary history for all executives and managers, first quarter 2003. I wonder what's on here. I wonder what my manager makes. Nobody will ever know. So they go back to their office or their cubicle. They plug it into their computer, the floppy, and it comes up with a Word doc or an Excel doc or any other type of file. And it has, payroll salary history. They click on it. Doesn't come up. It says some sort of error message that the file could not open. So then they're a good Samaritan. They take this floppy and they turn it over to Human Resources. Somebody dropped this in a public place. This is sensitive. So they get that attaboy. Well, Human Resources is pulling out their hair because who was stupid enough to leave this information in the public area? So what they do is they put it in their computer and they do this exact same process. Well, what just happened? Anybody know? Trojan horse. Okay? When they went to open that document, it installed spyware or a keystroke logger. So every keystroke that person types, every password they put in, every website they go to, every email they write and receive every instant message they send is surreptitiously, God, excuse me, I'm thirsty, so surreptitiously is sent out to some free email service provider like in the Ukraine or anywhere in the world. Or it could be a reverse backdoor, which every so often your computer tries to connect to another computer that's on the internet that's already been compromised by the same person or group of persons, and now the person's able to connect to your network because when you connect out to that compromised computer, it provides that hacker a reverse tunnel into your system. So that's one way that curiosity really can kill the cat. Let's go to the next slide. So why does social engineering work so well? Well, how many of you have ever received a telephone call asking for something that you think is like innocuous, is not really important? An employee number, another employee's telephone extension, an address, something that's just that you normally give out in your daily activities. Well, this is one of the main techniques of a social engineer, because what they do is they collect what appears to be innocuous information from different parts of the enterprise, and when they put it all together, it's valuable to them. Or when they put it all together, they're able to build their credibility, because now they know as much as a true insider about a particular project, who's on vacation. People also underestimate the value of information, or if a person is working in a particular department and they know through gossip or because they go to the pub down the street and where all the employees hang out and they hear what other project some other department is working on, they don't have any personal investment in the secrecy of that project. Maybe they even know it's sensitive, but they don't have personal investment, so they're willing to talk about it or reveal that information to an outsider.